The unexpected
Oh my God, a
discovery.
baby.
The airport was alive
It's
with
okay,
its
little one,
usual
you're safe
chaos,
now.
rolling suitcases, hurried
Oh
footsteps,
my
and the
God, a
constant murmur
baby.
of announcements
It's
echoing
okay,
through the
little
vast
one, you're
hall.
safe now.
Officer Maria Hayes moved calmly through the noise, her sharp eyes scanning everything around her. At her side walked Rex, a highly trained K-9 unit, his ears alert and his nose working tirelessly. Rex suddenly slowed. Maria noticed it instantly. "What is it, boy?" she whispered, watching as he veered slightly toward the baggage claim area. Travelers passed by, unaware, dragging their luggage off the conveyor belt. But Rex wasn't interested in any of that. He stopped near a black suitcase sitting oddly still among the constant movement. It wasn't unusual for luggage to be left behind, but something about this one felt different. Rex gave a low, focused bark. Maria's expression hardened. She knelt beside the suitcase, her instincts kicking in. "Control, I've got a suspicious bag at Carousel 3, she spoke into her radio. Requesting backup. Within moments, the area was subtly secured. Passengers were redirected without causing panic. Maria carefully circled the suitcase, her eyes scanning for tags, wires, anything unusual. It looked ordinary. Too ordinary. Rex barked again, this time louder. "Easy," Maria said, placing a calming hand on his back. She crouched down and slowly reached toward the zipper. Every second stretched like an eternity. Her training told her to expect anything: danger, contraband, even something far worse. She unzipped the bag and froze. Inside, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, was a baby. The tiny child lay peacefully asleep, her small chest rising and falling gently. A stuffed toy was tucked under her arm, as if someone had tried to comfort her before leaving. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Oh my God! The tension in the air shifted instantly. This wasn't a threat, it was something else entirely. Something heartbreaking. "Dispatch," Maria said, her voice softer now but urgent, "we have an abandoned infant." Repeat, an infant. Alive. Rex, sensing the change, sat quietly beside her, his alert stance easing into something almost protective. The baby stirred slightly, letting out a faint sound but not waking. Within minutes, paramedics arrived. Maria gently lifted the baby from the suitcase, cradling her carefully. The child was warm, thankfully, and showed no immediate signs of harm. Still, the question loomed heavily in everyone's mind. Who would do this? As the paramedics checked the baby, Maria stepped back, her thoughts racing. She scanned the area again, as if the answer might be hidden somewhere in the crowd. But whoever had left the child was gone. "Any ID?" one officer asked. Maria shook her head. "Nothing. No note, no tag. Just this." She looked down at the now empty suitcase. It seemed colder somehow, stripped of the fragile life it had carried. Rex nudged her hand gently. "I know," she murmured, absent-mindedly stroking his head. "We'll figure it out." But deep down, she knew this wasn't going to be simple. Somewhere in that massive airport, someone had made a desperate decision. A choice that led to a child being left alone in a suitcase, relying on chance, or perhaps fate, to be found. And today, that fate had been Rex. As the baby was carried away safely, Maria stood still, watching. Her job was far from over. If anything, it had just begun. Because behind every mystery, there was a story. And she was determined to uncover this one. A trail without a name. The ambulance doors closed with a hollow thud, carrying the baby away to safety. Officer Maria Hayes stood still for a moment, watching the flashing lights disappear into the distance. Rex remained beside her, unusually quiet, as if he understood the weight of what had just happened. "All right," Maria finally said, straightening up. "Let's find out who you belong to." The airport quickly returned to its rhythm, but behind the scenes, a quiet investigation had already begun. Security teams gathered near the baggage claim, and a technician approached Maria with a tablet. "We're pulling CCTV footage from the last hour," he said. "Whoever left that suitcase had to come through here." Maria nodded. "Start with anyone who didn't collect luggage or left in a hurry." She glanced down at the suitcase again. It had been moved to a secure area, now tagged as evidence. A small detail caught her eye, a faint scratch near the handle, almost like initials, but too worn to read clearly. "Bag standard issue," another officer added. "No unique identifiers. Could belong to anyone." "That's what bothers me," Maria replied. Whoever did this didn't want to be traced. Rex suddenly perked up again, his nose twitching as he circled the area where the suitcase had been found. He sniffed the floor, then moved toward a nearby pillar before stopping abruptly. "You got something?" Maria asked, following him. Rex pawed lightly at the ground, then turned toward a row of seats nearby. Maria's eyes narrowed. "Maybe they waited here." The technician called out, "Officer Hayes, we've got something." Maria walked over quickly. The screen displayed grainy footage of the baggage claim area. People moved in and out of frame, collecting bags, talking, rushing. Then, "Pause it," Maria said. A figure stood near the edge of the frame. A woman, dressed in a long coat, her face partially hidden by a scarf. She held the same black suitcase. Zoom in. The image sharpened slightly. The woman looked around nervously, shifting her weight. She wasn't waiting for luggage, she already had it. "Keep playing." The woman dragged the suitcase toward the seating area Rex had pointed out. She sat down briefly, her head lowered. For a moment, it looked like she might change her mind. Maria leaned closer to the screen. But then, the woman stood up. And walked away. Without the suitcase. A silence filled the room. "She just left it," one officer whispered. Maria's jaw tightened. "Track her." The technician nodded, fast-forwarding through multiple camera angles. The woman moved quickly, blending into the crowd. She passed through a corridor, then toward an exit gate. "Can we get her face?" Maria asked. "Trying," he replied. "But she keeps avoiding the cameras." Rex gave a soft whine. Maria looked at him. Yeah, she didn't want to be seen. The footage cut to the airport exit. The woman stepped outside, briefly turning her head. For a split second, her face was visible, tired, pale, and filled with something Maria couldn't ignore. "Fear. Freeze it there," Maria said quietly. The image locked. "That's our best shot," the technician said. "We'll run facial recognition, but it might take time." Maria crossed her arms, thinking. No luggage tag, no note, and she hides her face. This wasn't random. "You think she planned it?" Another officer asked. Maria shook her head slowly. "Not completely. Look at her." She hesitated. Sat down. Stayed for a moment. She pointed at the screen. "That's not someone who didn't care. Then why leave the baby?" Maria didn't answer immediately. Her eyes stayed fixed on the frozen image. "Because," she finally said, "she thought this was the only way." The room fell quiet again. Rex rested his head gently against Maria's leg. "Come on," she said, grabbing her jacket. "Let's head to the hospital. I want to check on the baby." As they walked out, Maria couldn't shake the image of the woman's face. There was more to this story, something deeper than abandonment. And she was determined to uncover the truth. Because somewhere out there, a mother had walked away. But not without a reason. The name she left behind. The hospital corridor smelled faintly of antiseptic and quiet urgency. Officer Maria Hayes walked beside Rex, her footsteps softer now, as if the place demanded a different kind of respect. Nurses moved swiftly past them, their faces calm but focused. At the end of the hallway, a pediatric nurse greeted her. "You're here for the baby from the airport." Maria nodded. "How is she?" The nurse's expression softened. "She's stable. A little dehydrated, but otherwise healthy. You got to her just in time." Maria let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Can I see her?" "Of course." They stepped into a small room filled with gentle light. The baby lay in a crib, wrapped in a clean blanket now, the pink one set aside on a nearby chair. Her tiny fingers curled and uncurled as she slept peacefully, unaware of the storm surrounding her existence. Rex stayed near the door, sitting quietly, his watchful eyes never leaving the child. Maria approached slowly, almost hesitant. She looked down at the baby, her heart tightening. "Hey there," she whispered. For a moment, everything felt still. Then, something caught her eye. "The blanket," Maria said, turning toward the chair. The nurse picked it up. "We kept it. Thought it might be important." Maria took the blanket carefully, examining its soft folds. It looked ordinary at first glance, but then she noticed a small stitch near one corner. It wasn't decorative. It was deliberate. A single word, hand-embroidered. Ayla. Maria's breath caught. This could be her name. The nurse smiled faintly. "It's a beautiful one." Maria nodded, her mind already racing. Or a clue. Just then, the door opened, and another officer stepped in. "Hayes, we got an update." Maria handed the blanket back and stepped outside. What is it? Facial recognition came back with a partial match, he said, holding out a file. Not confirmed, but close enough to follow. Maria flipped it open. A woman stared back at her from the printed image, no scarf this time, no shadows hiding her face. Her name was listed beneath. Sarah Malik, 32, the officer continued. No criminal record. Works part-time. Address listed, but, he hesitated. But what? Maria pressed. We sent someone. The place is empty. Looks like she left in a hurry. Maria frowned. Any family? None nearby. Just one thing. He pointed to a note in the file. Hospital record from 2 months ago. She gave birth. Maria's eyes flickered. So Ayla is hers. It seems that way. Maria closed the file slowly. Then this wasn't abandonment, she said under her breath. It wasn't, the officer asked. Maria looked back through the glass window at the sleeping baby. No, this was something else. Rex let out a soft, low sound, almost like agreement. Maria turned back. I want everything we can find on Sarah Malik. Financial records, calls, messages, anything unusual. You think she's in trouble? Maria didn't answer immediately. Instead, she remembered the footage, the hesitation, the fear in Sarah's eyes, the way she walked away like it was tearing her apart. Yes, Maria said finally. I think she didn't want to leave her child. Then why did she? Maria's gaze hardened. That's what we're going to find out. Inside the room, the baby stirred, letting out a soft cry for the first time. The nurse rushed in gently, lifting her and rocking her with care. It's okay, little one, you're safe. Maria watched from the doorway, her chest heavy but determined. Ayla, she whispered. Now she had a name. And names had stories. Somewhere out there, Sarah Malik was missing, not just as a suspect but possibly as a victim. And if Maria was right, then this case wasn't about a mother who walked away. It was about a mother who was forced to. Maria turned, already heading down the corridor. Let's move, she said. Because time was running out. And this story was far from over. The truth behind goodbye, final part. The rain had started just as Maria stepped out of the hospital, tapping softly against the pavement like a quiet warning. Rex walked beside her, focused, as the police car headlights cut through the dim evening. Location confirmed, the officer's voice crackled through the radio. Sarah Malik was spotted near an old bus terminal on the outskirts. Looks like she's been hiding. Maria didn't waste a second. We're on our way. The drive felt longer than it was. Maria's mind replayed everything, the suitcase, the hesitation, the name stitched into the blanket. Nothing about this felt like abandonment anymore. It felt like desperation. When they arrived, the terminal stood nearly empty, its broken lights flickering. A few stray figures lingered in the shadows, but Maria's attention sharpened immediately. Rex had already caught the scent. This way, she said, following him behind the terminal building. There, near a rusted bench, sat a woman curled into herself, her coat pulled tight, her face pale and exhausted. Sarah Malik, Maria called gently. The woman looked up. For a moment, fear flashed across her eyes, the same fear Maria had seen in the CCTV footage. She stood suddenly, as if ready to run, but stopped when she saw Rex and the officers behind Maria. It's over, Maria said softly. You don't have to run. Sarah's lips trembled. My baby, she whispered. Maria stepped closer. She's safe. Tears filled Sarah's eyes instantly. Her knees gave way, and she sank back onto the bench, covering her face as quiet sobs escaped her. I didn't want to leave her, she cried. I swear I didn't. Maria crouched beside her. Then tell me why you did. Sarah hesitated, then slowly lowered her hands. They were watching me, she said, her voice shaking. I owed money, bad people. I tried to manage, but after Ayla was born, it got worse. They threatened me, said they would take her if I didn't pay. Maria's expression hardened. So you ran. I tried, Sarah said, shaking her head. But they always found me. I knew, if I kept her with me, she wouldn't be safe. Her voice broke. So I took her to the airport. I thought, someone kind would find her. Someone who could protect her. Maria felt a heavy silence settle between them. You trusted strangers, Maria said quietly. Sarah nodded weakly. It was the only chance I could give her. Rex stepped forward slightly, his calm presence grounding the moment. Maria exhaled slowly. You made a dangerous choice, she said, not harshly, but honestly. But you were trying to protect your child. Sarah looked up, her eyes full of regret. Is she okay? Maria allowed a small, reassuring nod. She's safe, healthy, and she has a name now. Sarah's breath caught. You saw it. Ayla, Maria said. Tears streamed down Sarah's face again, but this time they carried something softer, relief. She's going to be taken care of, Maria continued. But your story doesn't end here. We're going to help you, and we're going to find the people who put you in this situation. Sarah stared at her, disbelief flickering through her pain. You'd do that, for me. Maria stood, offering her hand. For her. After a moment, Sarah took it. As the officers moved in to take her safely into custody, not as a criminal, but as someone who needed protection, Maria looked up at the rainy sky. Somewhere behind them, a new beginning was waiting. Days later, the investigation led to the arrest of the group that had been threatening Sarah. The danger that once surrounded her was gone. And in a quiet hospital room, Sarah held Ayla. Again, this time without fear. Maria stood by the door, Rex at her side, watching the reunion in silence. Sometimes, the hardest choices weren't right or wrong. They were made out of love, in the darkest moments. Moral of the story. True love doesn't always look perfect. It sometimes makes painful choices to protect what matters most. Instead of judging quickly, we should seek to understand the struggles behind people's actions, because compassion can reveal the truth hidden beneath fear.